Well, Reverend Gomes is with us here. We're outside the Tynwald buildings, and obviously a very important day in the religious calendar, being the Easter festival here.
It is.
You've picked this moment to yet again do the graphic images. You've got all the signs up here about abortion.
Yes.
Isn't this all over and done with now? Why bring this out yet again now?
Because our primary aim was not to stop the abortion reform bill from going ahead. We were almost certain, given the zeitgeist, the spirit of the age, that it will go ahead. Our primary aim is to do what all great social reformers did down the ages, whether it was the abolition of slavery, the abolition of child labor, or the civil rights movement, Martin Luther King in the United States, to educate people, to enlighten them, and to bring about social reform in the long term. There is also an ancillary aim, and that aim is if we can save the life of one baby in the womb. We have many people who come our way and who look at the images and they say, I had no idea this is what happens during an abortion, and I've changed my mind.
Right, I mean, explicit images,
yeah, absolutely.
The shock tactics. You've got little children going past
Yes.
here, going to this church here.
Absolutely.
Parents
Yes.
are furious, the ones that pass me.
Yes.
Yes, you keep saying yes. I mean, doesn't any of this cause alarm bells to ring that you have to be so...
Well, actually, I am extremely grateful that we are able to provoke people, because we're using what is known in academic circles as the argumentum ad misericordiam, the appeal to mercy, the appeal to your heart. A picture speaks more than 1,000 words. And again, we are following in a very long tradition of social reform. Wilberforce and Charles Grant and the Clapham sect were not making much headway when they were fighting against slavery. See, the whole thing is when you dehumanize a human being, whether the person is black or whether the person is a Jew, as the Nazis did, they called them cockroaches. As during the time of slavery, they dehumanized black people. When you dehumanize a child in the womb, then you can annihilate that child without any feeling. But our response is, again, along the lines of this historic tradition, what Charles Grant did when he was fighting against slavery and nobody was listening. He got sketches of the horrendous conditions in the slave ship Brooks, and he showed decent people what was actually happening. Lewis Hine, the chap responsible for abolishing child labor, did the same thing, and so did Martin Luther, getting people to look at the horrific images of the white sheriff setting his dogs on black protesters.
So you believe in free speech, I understand that
Absolutely.
bit. But you are putting this upon people who are driving past in their cars, and you've had quite a reaction. Tell us about that.
Yes.
I mean,
well, that's precisely my point.
you want to create...
Precisely, absolutely. And Paul, if we were under Nazi Germany and the local commandant was shooting 10 Jews every week, would we be silent? Of course not. We would stand. And we are talking about human life. We are talking about state-sanctioned genocide. The question is, do you believe that the child in the womb is human or not?
What do you hope now to take this forward any further? I mean, as I say, the laws have changed. This is all now finished and done with for most people.
Yes.
Are you intent on continually doing this sort of demonstration? And is it a demonstration, or how would you describe it? Demonstration or education?
I think education and information.
A lot of people say this is not the way to do it, right? You accept that.
I accept that a lot, but a lot of people were very angry when Lewis Hines was showing them images of children working in factories and mines and mills, and they were more upset with the images than with the brutality inflicted on children by factory owners. Why are people not stopping and saying that the brutality of an abortion is so horrific?
Sure, but an adult has consent to look at those pictures. Children are going past here today, and you've got children in your group here.
Because in our group we are not... Right, okay, you've asked a very good question. The government of the United Kingdom is passing the Relationship and Sex Education Act 2020, the statutory instrument, and children from the age of 4 are going to be exposed to sexual acts. This is already happening. 5-year-old children are being... So no, but we were talking about...
I mean, here
we are talking about profound double standards here. And we are telling our children... We are exposing our children to a scientific reality.
Do they understand what you're doing?
Oh yes, they do. They do.
You explain it before they look at them.
Oh yes,
other children coming past have no chance of that. They're just exposed.
In the case of other children, you've noticed that on every side we have large notices saying graphic images ahead. So we have caution. We have the...
children though, they're more likely to look at it because they're told not to. They're going to look at it. That's just the way of the world, isn't it?
Well, is it more important protecting a child from an image, or is it more important protecting a child from being brutally dismembered in its mother's womb?
Okay. I think we've gone around circles here anyway, but the fact is, where do you go from here now? Are you going to constantly do this every week, every month, once a year?
We do this once a fortnight. We do this in different parts of the island. They've tried to shut us down. I mean, we just want to thank the
police here today.
No, the police have been extremely good. The police have been, if I had the opportunity, I would like to say a big thank you to the police, because on every occasion they have supported us, and thank God the Isle of Man police still believe in free speech. Our Parliament, Tynwald, has tried to bring about restrictions on what we can do and where, but again that seems to be in violation of the UN government.
Finally, you brought people from across. I say you, but groups from across had come in before. The Abort 67, that sort of thing. Is this now purely your own people? Everyone here, are they from the Isle of Man? Besides, obviously, your visiting
our visitors, yes. This is totally local.
Not many people, though, is it?
We don't expect many people, because people are so afraid. They are so afraid to make a stand on anything. That's one, of course. And a lot of people don't really understand what is going on, because they have been brainwashed by the zeitgeist again, telling them that abortion is safe. They're talking about the rights of the mother. What about the rights of the child?
Thanks, Dr. As always, we'd like to balance the story up if the other side wants to come back and do an interview in response to this.
And by the way, I have asked...
Would you discuss it with him?
Oh yes, I've asked Dr. Alex Allinson...
Yeah, you got into Twitter.
Yeah, exactly, for a public academic debate. And he's replied, of course, there's been a debate in Tynwald. What I'm asking for, and what we have consistently asked for, is an academic debate. We would like to debate him and any pro-abortionist purely on the grounds of embryology and on the grounds of philosophy.
We'd like to host that, or at least broadcast it maybe as well. So see what happens. But in the meantime, you do accept that this is angering or certainly exposing people to things that maybe they shouldn't be exposed.
Well, and again, as I said, this is our primary purpose of doing it. If William Wilberforce did it with black slaves, if Lewis Hine did it with children, if Martin Luther King did it to expose the racists of his day, we would like to expose the pro-death culture of our times.